Amen to those prayers. Honorable Speaker, I beg to second and note that, Madam Speaker, throughout the ages and within our young democracy, we've made so many strides, Madam Speaker, through peaceful legal reforms, through peaceful amendments to our laws. Madam Speaker, you can only change society by having a conversation, having dialogue, agreeing every now and then what law works for you, what law doesn't work for you. And Madam Speaker, I believe that the President's memorandum is made in that light. He recognized the fact that Parliament has a big role to play in legal reform and that we need to have a conversation. And so instead of issuing an edict or doing what was called BBI at that time, he involves Parliament early enough, asks us, these are my thoughts on these matters. What do you think? That's what he's telling us, Madam Speaker, through this memorandum. And I want to thank our Speaker here for allowing time for this conversation, Madam Speaker, because we've come from far and we've changed so much. Our society has changed so much. In America, for almost 100 years, women never voted. Our democracy started with every one of us being able to vote. And so I believe that through nudging, talking to each other, reforming laws when necessary, Madam Speaker, we make our society better. And so I want us to look at this memorandum from the President in that light, that we've been struggling with ensuring that women come to this House. And women who are here can tell you stories, Madam Speaker. You're one of them. And I've heard stories from women who are running for seats. I run a party, and I've had people who want to run talk to me about concerns they have, Madam Speaker. And so a way must be found to ensure that as a country, we make our women participate in politics meaningfully without being abused, insulted, or bullied, Madam Speaker. And where the numbers fall short, a way must be found to ensure that this Parliament and the Senate, Madam Speaker, is representative of the society. Our statistics show that women are more than the men in this country. But in almost every leadership positions, you go to county assemblies, county assemblies, National Assembly, Senate, the number of women being elected are low. And so I agree with the President that a way must be found to ensure that 97 members of Parliament, out of 348 are women. And how do we do that, Madam Speaker? The courts have spoken severally that we were not legally constituted. We've sat here, agonized. How do we get the best formula to ensure that women their numbers are as per the law? And so what is being proposed is, can you get a formula that if we already have affirmative action seats, 47 of them, considered, if you already have 26 members of Parliament elected as women, considered, what numbers more do we need to ensure that we have 97? So he's proposing that, can you get a formula where through the political party system, through independent system, through dialogue in this assembly, we're able to bring in 24 more women. In future, if the numbers fall short, you get a formula that is foolproof, that we know that if we elect 50 women, we'll have to bring in 47 of them. If you only have 60 women, we'll have to bring 37 of them. That's what is being proposed here, Madam Speaker, and I agree with this absolutely. The way must be found that if you cannot elect women, if Kenyans cannot elect women, we must still get women on the table of discussion, Madam Speaker. And in this regard, I want to request members, look at this in a manner that promotes their daughters, their mothers. If we're not promoting William Ruto as president, he doesn't benefit from this. So if you can get a way of doing this the right way, Madam Speaker, our country becomes a better country in terms of governance, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when the late President Kibaki was alive, his opinion was that if the best evolution would better work at the constituency level. And I agree with him. Madam Speaker, if you go to our constituencies today, you look at the kind of money we spend on administering CDF, it's less than 10 million. Compare that with how much money the counties are using to employ staff for administration. It's 40%, some places 50%. Madam Speaker, if we entrenched CDF, if we entrenched GAF, if you allow Senate to have some resources to be able to go around to ensure that counting money is work well, Madam Speaker, we'll be better off. Because we need more money on the grassroots, not less. And no one said, and I don't believe so, that the only level of devolution should be county governments. And I want to ask the governors, wherever they are, that the CDF will never give way. The money we receive in CDF today will never be sent to the counties. It will always remain at the constituency level. Madam Speaker, the work of a member of Parliament becomes easier, not because he fiddles with CDF, not because he puts his hand in CDF, but because through CDF, schools have been built. Children go to school. Madam Speaker, last week, and I've been doing this for the last 10 years, There's never been news in this country since I became MP in 2013 of a child in Ugenya who scored good marks, never going to school. And it's true for all constituencies, that we use that system to cater for everybody else that we need to cater for. If a child from Kwanza is called to Alliance, the Honorable Wanyonyi there is able to get money and send the kid to Alliance. If a kid from Sema is called to Mangu and he lives with the grandparents, through CDF you can pick it, and you're able to sort out the children throughout. We've seen how countries handle bursaries. It is sorted, it's in corruption, nepotism, all these things, Madam Speaker. And so the best fund we have, the one that's close to the people, the one that serves the interests of the country with very little administration fees is CDF. We as a people, as Parliament, must support the President's word. Let's entrench GAF. Let's entrench CDF. Let's allow senators to have their money to go around the country to help make the governance better in this country. Madam Speaker, this country today, if we didn't have the opposition, and you know, all presidents in the world who had good intention, Madam Speaker, some of them come to be rogue. And we've seen how our country has been run. Parties have leaders. Parties have people who speak for them. You cannot tell me today in this House that the leaders that sit here as majority and minority are the leaders who make their parties move. There are people out there who lead these parties and who, after elections, lose their voices. What is being planned by this proposed amendment, Madam Speaker, is to ensure that those who hold the highest responsibility in their parties, those who run Wiper, ODM, Jubilee, whichever parties that they are, still have their voices after elections. They don't lose their voices as members of Parliament, but by providing an office situation. The opposition is always the alternative government, Madam Speaker. And if we have an alternative government that cannot be organized, has no office, cannot be traced, Madam Speaker, it becomes difficult to organize. And so we want to be able to have a responsible opposition, one that can also be held to account. Because I believe that even the opposition must be held to account. We are all elected. They are being supported by the taxpayers' money. We must be able to know, what are they doing? How are they doing it? You can only do so, Madam Speaker, if you know where they are, if you fund them and are able to know what they're doing and ensure that they're doing their work rightly. And so, Madam Speaker, it doesn't matter whether the proposals were done through BBI, were done by Ruto, Raila, or whoever it is. What is right is right. It doesn't matter who says it. It is right to have a good opposition. It is good to have a country where critique is legalized, institutionalized, Madam Speaker. This proposal by the President proposes that we institutionalize opposition. Ensure that you have a way of making those who go to elections and don't win elections at national level can still operate in the public space. And we teach members here, let's not look at these things as personality proposals. Because I don't think all of us are going to be here forever. If you serve for 2-3 terms, you feel tired already, you want to go. Someone else will come in. Madam Speaker, I would like to look at these proposals far away from the person who wrote this memorandum. And look at these proposals as a member of Parliament who believes in a good country, one that is governed by law, and look at them without having this hangers on that, oh, proposed what? Madam Speaker, I've been in this Parliament now my 3rd term. It's been difficult. Madam Speaker, we go and queue. You can go to see a minister and queue for 3 hours, 2 hours. And there's no place to question them. Some ministers have reached their terms without anyone knowing even their names in this assembly. Because we don't know what they do, how they do what they do. There's no chance to question them. What is now being proposed, Madam Speaker, it's not for them to come and sit on the floor, in this floor because they're not members, but to get a place for them where members of Parliament can question them publicly. Proposals are being made that, oh, we can do them in committees, we can cover committee sessions live. Madam Speaker, having ministers come to this House at an allotted time, being questioned publicly, Mr. Speaker, will improve governance. It will make our work easier. Will make the work of their chairman of committees easier. Madam Speaker, we are not rolling back. We are making it better. We are improving our governance structure, Madam Speaker. Yes, you would say that why don't we then go the whole hog and make ministers come to this House? A very desirable position. But we are trying to make do with what we have. That before we change the constitution to make ministers come to the House, Madam Speaker, a way must be found to have ministers coming to this House, Madam Speaker. And I want therefore request members to look at these proposals for what they are, not the person moving them. Because if any one of us could still move these amendments and make them law, Madam Speaker. With those so many Madam Speaker, I beg to second and ask members to support. Thank you.
Honorable members, before I proceed, I wish to recognize the presence of students from Kanyakine High School from Imenti South constituency in Meru County. Honorable members, may I propose the question so that we can proceed to the substantive debate? Is that the mood of the House? I now propose that, noting the contents of the memorandum submitted to Parliament by His Excellency the President, asking Parliament to consider initiating amendments to the Constitution, acknowledging that actualization of the proposals which relate to inter alia the composition of Parliament as provided for in Articles 97 and 98 of the Constitution, in order to attain the two-thirds gender principle, the creation of the office of the Leader of Opposition in Parliament and the inclusion of various funds in the Constitution would necessitate amendment to the Constitution while reconstructing of parliamentary oversight to allow the Cabinet Secretaries to appear before the Houses of Parliament to respond to questions by members would require amendment of our standing orders. Further acknowledging that the Speaker via a notification issued on the 9th of December 2022 referred the matters raised in the memorandum to the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs. With regard to proposals relating to the implementation of the two-thirds gender principle and the establishment of the Office of the Leader of Official Opposition, the Joint Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, with regard to the proposals to amend to the Constitution to entrench the Constituency Development Fund, the Senate Oversight and the National Government Affirmative Action Funds, and the Procedure and House Rules Committee, with regard to the proposals to amend the standing orders to strengthen parliamentary oversight of the executive so as to facilitate public participation pursuant to Article 118 of the Constitution. Now, therefore, pursuant to the provisions of Article 1(2) and 95(2) of the Constitution, this House notes, considers, and makes